about to filter the wort and aerate it. Now, I'm not going to get into why aeration is necessary or well advised, but I will put a couple links in the description so you guys can research it on your own. Now, I aerate a little bit differently than most people do. I actually use my bottling bucket here to aerate. So as you'll see, what I'm going to do is I'm going to put my fermenting bucket kind of under the spigot here of the bottling bucket, and I've actually got a 5-gallon paint strainer bag that I'm going to use to filter this wort. Now, I've already sanitized my bottling bucket here, and there is still a little bit of star sand left in it, so I'm going to dump that back into its bucket. And then I'm going to take my paint strainer bag and kind of stick this over my bottling bucket, and then I'm going to pour my wort straight into this, pull the bag out, and that'll pull out all the hop debris. Accidentally spilled just a little bit of this when I was transferring it to the bottling bucket, but that's what the towel is for. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to remove the paint strainer bag, and my hands, I have washed my hands. It's probably a really good idea at this point of the process, because I'm just going to squeeze the wort through the paint strainer bag, and that's going to leave all the hop residue rather, in the bag. Alright, so I'm done straining out the wort, so now it's time to aerate. You simply have your bottling bucket on a counter, have your fermenting bucket below it, and open the spigot, and it aerates itself. Now, during the aeration process, this is when I typically take a sample of my wort to measure the gravity before fermentation. Since I'm doing a double batch today, the black IPA and the milk stout, I've already started on the second batch. While this was aerating and draining into the fermenting bucket, I rinsed my kettle out and I got the strike water started on the second batch. However, we got to finish this one first, so I'm going to take my yeast. For this particular recipe, and for most of my recipes, I just use the Nottingham dry yeast. It's a nice neutral yeast. We're going to pour this right on top. And then we have a little bit left in the bottom of our bottling bucket, so I'm going to dump that right on top of the yeast. And now all we have to do is cap this, put an airlock on it. I tend to use a blow-off tube for mine. This has been soaked in star sand. You can use any sanitizer you want, but this way I won't get a clogged airlock and have a huge mess on my hands, as I say, with star sand foam all over me. I'm getting ready to mash in with my second batch. Since it's a lot of the same processes, I'm not going to show you as much video of this batch, but I've already crushed my grains, getting the water down to 164 right now. I'm once again aiming for a mash temperature of 152 degrees. I will show you the additions, but this one is going to be a milk stout. As you can see, I've lost my sunlight, so we're doing this by the awesome fluorescent lights here. But we're about to start on boil number 2, and I'm going to do the same exact thing. I've got my spray bottle of reverse osmosis water here, and I'm going to prevent a boil over. This recipe calls for 1/3 of an ounce of Magnum, German Magnum hops, so I'm going to go ahead and add that in right now. I'm doing a milk stout. What that entails is putting lactose, which is milk sugar, into the actual beer. Now, I don't recommend drinking one of these if you are lactose intolerant, because you will get sick, or if you're making a milk stout, make sure that the people you're serving it to are not lactose intolerant. But this, we've also got 1 ounce of East Kent Goldings hops, These are going in at 10 minutes, as is the 1 pound of lactose. Also, I'm going to add my wort chiller, therefore any bacteria that may be on it can get killed off by the boil. So this black IPA calls for a dry hop addition of 1.5 ounces of Citra. So I'm just checking that out right now, measuring out 1/2 ounce because I have another packet that's a full ounce. And it looks like we got 1/2 ounce right there. This recipe also calls for 1.5 ounces dry hop of Cascade. So let's get 1/2 ounce of these. So I overshot this just a little bit. We'll empty out a few pellets. See if we got 1/2 ounce. Nice. What I do when I dry hop is I actually take 1 gallon nylon paint strainer bags and soak them in sanitizer, and then what I'll do is I'll just put the hops in this bag. I've got a zip tie that I also soak in sanitizer, and that'll keep the bag shut. So I've already got my hops portioned out here. Go ahead and take my zip tie and tie this up. And then this will go in our black IPA for about a week, and then I'll rack it.